Hi, it's Steph, and we're at Walmart, and they've just got a new shipment of a bunch of spring inventory. It's changing quickly this time of year, so let's go ahead and take a look at what they've got. There are lots of annuals showing up, and it's getting to be that time here in Zone 6 for you to set up your summer containers, and lots of options. They have some petunias. These look to be 4-packs by their house brand, the Expert Gardener, and they are $3.88. They also have some alyssum, which alyssum does well in cool weather. So even if you're getting a little bit of cold temperatures or cooler temperatures, they should still do fairly well in a spring container arrangement. Now, I love alyssum, and these are extremely easy to grow from seed. In fact, I buy seeds at the Dollar Tree, and they always do really well for me. But they tend to get a bit bushy and have a little bit of a trailing habit, so they're a really great filler. So here, again, you're getting a 4-pack for $3.88. Pollinators love these also. They have these little tubular shaped flowers. They sometimes come in purple as well, but I really like the white. They almost have the appearance of being a little bit of like a baby's breath. Some marigolds. Now these are a great option if you have, say, a vegetable garden, to dot them around, because the scent of marigolds is off-putting to things like bunnies and deer, so it could keep them from eating your vegetables. So here is a French marigold. This is in the yellow color, and you're getting 4 for $3.88. They also have a couple of different varieties here. The orange and yellow variety, and there's another one as well, which is orange. Now, the great thing about marigolds is that they will flower for you all spring, all summer, and well into the fall. And these are a great plant, or great annual, for a fall transition plant. So if you have marigolds in these fall colors, they will last for you until your first hard frost. So it's actually a great little plant to invest in early on in the season. Here are the orange ones. They're quite pretty. And these are a pretty short stature. The French marigolds tend to be a bit shorter. Let's see if the tag will tell us. They get to be 8 to 10 inches tall and wide. They like 6+ hours of full sun. They like to be watered, and they are hardy to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. These are an annual. Some Calicabrochia, which is a miniature version of a petunia. These are an annual. They like full sun. They get 4 to 8 inches tall, and plant them 9 to 12 inches apart. This container here looks to be about a quart. It says 1 quart for $4.97. This is that vibrant fuchsia color. Now these are great. They will start getting larger and start trailing out of your baskets or your planters, so a great option for an annual container. And right beside them, one of my favorites, geraniums. So these still look to be in the early stages. They don't have a ton of blooms on them, but there are some bloom stalks with some buds coming up, also in this pink color. Now let's see how much these are. So the annual geranium containers are $4.97, also 1 quart size, and they need full sun, 6+ hours. They get to be 10 to 18 inches tall, and that is, of course, the extra height is when you get the bloom stalks that sort of shoot up from the plant. And they need 9 to 12 inch spacing, protect from frost. So these are not cold hardy. I actually overwintered some geraniums. I recently posted a video about it. They're doing really well. So these are good candidates for overwintering if you want to try that when the end of the season comes. Look how pretty this plant is. It's called stock, and it's kind of a tall, spiky type plant with these blooms on them. This variety is a pink, and it's also an annual. They need 6+ hours of full sun. They get 12 to 36 inches tall, and they should be planted 9 to 15 inches apart. $4.97 for 1 quart. They also have some white Calibrachoa, and these almost look like saxifraga to me for a second, but they are a small version of the Calibrachoa in the white. And snapdragons, which are another great spring annual. In fact, sometimes these will even overwinter for you, depending on your zone. Here in my zone 6B, it's iffy as to whether or not they will return, but they are classified as annuals for us. Here you're getting a pack of 6 for $8.97, and they're really pretty. These look to be like a lemon color, yellow. and not too tall. Sometimes the really taller varieties of snapdragon, or the taller versions, do require some staking, but these are at that perfect height where they wouldn't require staking. Here's one of my favorite annuals that I've used in the past, and it's the New Guinea Impatiens. Now, these New Guinea Impatiens can take a bit more sun than the traditional Impatiens, and I really love that the foliage on them is so detailed. Look, it's got this deep green with this pink veining in them and the red undersides. They're absolutely beautiful annual, and they bloom non-stop all season long. Now, these are hanging baskets, and they are $17.97, so a great gift for an upcoming Mother's Day. And these here, they say they're 1.5 gallon. Watered daily, part sun, 4 to 6 hours of sun. And so many more plants that haven't even been unpackaged yet. So this is such an exciting time of year. But let's see what else. They've got these containers here. They look like great patio containers in a decorative pot for $26.97. It says it's a part sun combo, and it looks like it has some Calibrachoa in them, as well as these Dracaena spikes in the center. The container made easy, the drop and grow, these are great because they are already pre-made for you. So if you don't like combining your plants to make containers, you can just purchase one of these for $9.97, throw them in your pot, and this looks like it would fit. This might be an 8-inch container, so it would fit in probably a 10 or 12-inch planter, and you're good to go. You just water it and enjoy the beauty. How about the striping on these? $7.97. And they love sun, 6+ hours or more of sun. They're a petunia hybrid. Now, petunias do require deadheading. Unless you get the proven winners supertunias, which are supposed to be self-cleaning, you will have to go in here and pinch off these dead blooms in order for the plant to keep producing. And if it gets really leggy throughout the season, if you just give it a good haircut, it comes back vigorously and beautifully. So don't be afraid to trim on your petunias. Fuchsia hanging baskets. I absolutely love these. They remind me of like earrings, really. They look like earrings, don't they? They're really $17.97 on the fuchsia hanging baskets. These are also part sun, needing 4 to 6 hours of sun per day. But absolutely beautiful. And we've been looking at lots of annuals, but let's check out some perennials, starting with these hosta. Now, I actually bought 2 hostas last year at Walmart, and they did really well. I bought a variety called Dancing Queen and one called Fragrant Bouquet. So let's see what they have in stock this year. So this one is called August Moon, and it is a part sun perennial. Hostas like part sun, and it looks like it gets, let's see, 6 to 36 inches in height, and they need 12 to 36 inch spacing, hardy to zone 5, and water 1 to 2 times per week. Once they're established, hosta are pretty drought resistant. They are not, however, deer resistant. So if you deal with a lot of deer and rabbit in your garden, you would probably have to spray these or protect them with a fence because they are like deer salad. But a really great way to offer a lot of texture and color to a shade garden. And this year they're carrying some bloomables, and this is a sage called Blue Marvel. Sage and salvia, those are used interchangeably, but it is a beautiful spike type bloom perennial with different shades of purple. This one here looks like it has a really dark violet purple. And these do great. These are such workhorse perennials. In fact, on my channel, I have a video about how I prune my salvia to keep it blooming pretty much throughout the whole summer. So if you want to check that out, but look how pretty. These look beautiful with, say, like pink cone flowers, or even some, I have mine paired with my knockout roses in the double pink, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So these here are, let's see, they're a 2-quart container. They like full sun. It's called Sage Blue Marvel. Water regularly. They get to be 10 to 12 inches by 10 to 12 inches. And if you deadhead these, meaning you shear them down after their first initial flush of blooms, you will get more blooms coming up from the plant. So really great perennial. Some calendula. Now these are really pretty orange flowers. In my experience, calendula isn't always perennial for us here in zone 6. The container is stating it is perennial, so it's very important to be aware of what your gardening zone is so you can determine whether or not a plant is hardy in your zone. So this one is saying it's hardy to 32 degrees. It needs full sun. It gets to be 10 to 12 inches in height and 8 to 10 inches in width. Water weekly during dry spells, and this is 2 quarts for $7.88. And really pretty. Some sedum. Now sedum are great, especially if you are a person who doesn't love watering plants. These can go pretty long between waterings. So this variety here is called Lidocens sedum. It is a perennial. It needs a full sun, 6+ hours a day. With sedums, if you don't give them enough sun, they will start to split in the middle and get a little bit leggy and floppy. So you certainly want to ensure that you give them a good amount of sun. So this variety here gets to be 3 to 4 inches in height and 10 to 14 inches in width. They are hardy to zone 5 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And they are $4.98. These are also a great option to create a container arrangement for summer. So say you don't love the watering all the time in the summer, you could create a container with sedums, and then they would require you to water them a bit less. They still need some water, but not nearly as much as something like a petunia, for example. Look at this. Absolutely gorgeous, the color on these. They have these large containers. They look to be they're 1.5 gallon. I was going to go with a 2 gallon, but 1.5 gallon of bearded iris. This one is called Border Bearded Iris Germanica, and it is a perennial. They're hardy to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, water when dry, and they bloom early to midsummer. These are some pretty good sized containers with a good amount of rhizomes in them and lots of bloom stalks for $15.98. None of them are in bloom yet, so we can't tell what color they are, but I did do a quick Google search and they look to be a shade of purple. When you plant these, you want to make sure that the rhizomes are exposed to the sun. They like to be a little bit on top of the soil facing the sun, and that's how they will bloom best for you. You want to make sure not to plant them too deeply. Some more varieties of hosta, and this one's called Paul's Glory. What a large leaf this one has. And it looks like it's going to have a lighter yellow in the center with a darker green margin on the outside. And I just love these multicolored foliage hosta. So let's see, this one here is a 2 quart container, Paul's Glory hosta, part sun. So 4 to 6 hours of sun. They get to be 6 to 36 inches in height and 12 to 36 inches in width. Hardy to zone 5 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And now, if I'm not mistaken, these are also in that $8.98 price range. At least that's how much they were last year. So I'm going to try to get confirmation on that. Yeah, so $8.88 seems to be the price point on these 2 quart size containers. So here we have dianthus, and in some areas dianthus are perennial, and in some areas they are annual. So again, it's going to depend largely on the temperature in your area, what your gardening zone is. But this variety here is called Barberini, and it needs full sun, 6+ hours of sun a day. It gets to be 4 to 10 inches in height and 10 inches in width, hardy to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 quarts, $8.88. Really pretty fuchsia color on this one. And I found a bloomable with a price point or price tag. So it looks like they are $9.88 for these bloomable 2 quart containers. So this Spanish lavender, as well as that sage or salvia that we saw earlier. Look how pretty these Spanish lavender are. They remind me of pineapples for some reason, their shape. But lavender smells amazing. I wish you had smell-o-vision. Yum. And so these here are full sun. They need medium water. They are hardy in zone 7 through 9. They get to be 16 to 18 inches by 14 to 16 inches. Really pretty. So these here in my zone would be questionable because I'm in a zone 6. So this might be only an annual for me. I do have a pretty good hardy variety of lavender in my garden though, called Munstead English Lavender, and it does really well in my zone. Some more hosta, and now these are larger containers, and this variety here is called Delta Dawn. Again, one of those chartreusey yellow green multi-tone hostas. Another part shade perennial, and I don't know how much these large containers are, but let's see if we can figure that out. No price on the large one, but this one caught my eye too. This one looks like it has a bit smaller foliage, and this one is called Wide Brim, and it's part sun, 4 to 6 hours, 6 to 36 inches in height, and 12 to 36 inches in width. Look at that. And then there's these ruffly ones that remind me a bit of some of the Proven Winners varieties, and let's see how much, or what type this one is rather. Look at that. I think there's some called curly fries, and then there's the Shadowlands. There's one that's roughly like this. The name is escaping me at the moment, but really cool, different textured foliage type hosta. This one is called Atlantis, and it gets to be 6 to 36 inches in height and 12 to 36 inches in width, hardy to zone 5. Man, I wish there was a price on these 1.5 gallon hostas. Haven't found a price tag yet, but if I do, your girl will let you know. Another great option for a Mother's Day plant, the Asiatic lilies. So these are $19.98, and they look to be some shades of pink. Sometimes they come in orange, and a really dominant color for these is yellow. I can see there's one down here that is also yellow, but these might actually have multiple colors in one container. So these look to have a little bit of a decorative pot, and they are $19.98. These are full sun. They get to be 28 to 32 inches tall, and they like moist, well-drained soil. Look at these little rays of sunshine. These are calla lilies, and they also have a cute little white pot, and they are yellow. They're listed as perennial. Let's see where they're hardy, what zones they are hardy to. Let's see if we can find that information. So it says they are part sun, liking 4 to 6 hours of sun per day. They get to be 24 to 36 inches tall, and they like a consistently moist soil. Now, I do have a couple of friends who grow these, and they are perennial for them here in my zone 6, but they have them in sort of a microclimate where they have them planted against the south facing side of the house or against a foundation where it stays warmer, and they return for them pretty consistently. So they are hardy, it says, to zone 8 or 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, I thought so. They're not always hardy in our zone unless they are in like a planted location that is very protected. And these are $15.98. They also have a little bit bigger container for $24.98 in a decorative gray planter. Some thornless blackberries. So that's always a good option because I can't tell you how many times I've been pricked by these. But a thornless blackberry is always a good option. So these are $12.84. And blackberries are delicious. These are pretty, they can get pretty invasive, so you probably want to place them. I like the idea of planting them in big pots or big containers because I feel like I can contain them that way and not keep them from spreading too much. But they are a good fruit to have, very easy to grow, very prolific. Just know that they could get a little bit carried away. And some blueberries. Now, blueberries are also a great shrub to incorporate into your landscape. You can even use them planted among a mixed border as an ornamental. They have beautiful fall color, and you get fruit. And they also start putting on these little blooms where you'll get your blueberries. And the pollinators love them. In fact, there's a little bee hanging out, getting some pollen from the blueberry flowers. And these here are $12.84, and this is the top hat variety. And let's see here. So the top hat needs 6+ hours of sun a day, likes moist, well-drained soil, gets to be 24 inches in height and 18 to 24 inches in width, hardy to zone 5 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, matures in late summer. If you have a lot of birds, you might have to put some netting to protect the berries, or you can let the birds have a snack, whichever your preference. I have some azaleas. Now, these are some small containers of azaleas, but the thing about these small containers is they're very manageable to plant. They also make a great housewarming gift. And these are by their Expert Gardener line. This is called Tradition Azalea, which has a bright fuchsia pink. I actually have an azalea in this color, and it's beautiful. It's part sun, needing 4 to 6 hours of sun a day, likes moist, well-drained soil, and these are $9.97. Let's see if it says anything about their size. They get 12 to 36 inches tall, and they need 24 to 36 inches tall and 24 to 36 inch spacing. So this one looks to be a bit on the smaller side, but if they're happy, they will continue to grow. So allow for some proper growing space. They have a couple of evergreens here. The Little Giant Arbovitae. It's a dense, round evergreen shrub with upright fans of leathery dark green scale-like foliage. Now these are great because the Little Giant Arborvitaes or the Green Giant variety of Arborvitaes are pretty deer resistant in my experience, and these have more of an oval or round growth habit. And let's see, they are $12.84. They like full sun. They can be used for screening, and it says that they can grow to 6 feet tall and 6 foot wide, hardy to zone 2, so very hardy. Some rhododendrons. These are also a great option for a housewarming gift. Good foundation plants. And these have some nice big buds on them. And it doesn't tell you what color they are, so it would be a surprise. But more than likely, they're usually in that pink purple color, sometimes white. There's a variety called Nova Zembla that's like a fuchsia color. But these here are $11.84. They like part sun. And they get to be 3 to 20 feet tall and 3 to 6 feet you need to give them in spacing with. Hardy to zone 6 or negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, in bloom in early summer. My rhododendrons tend to bloom towards the end of May, usually around Memorial Day, and I really love them. And this beautiful large foliage that's pretty shiny is really attractive and stays this way throughout the winter, being an evergreen. So really good foundational type plant. This rhododendron is actually blooming. It's called Crete, and it's a beautiful pink. $19.84 for this one. Looks to be about a 2-gallon container. It needs 24 to 36 inches tall, 24 to 36 inches in width, hardy to zone 5 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So this might be a more compact variety. It does have smaller foliage and really beautiful blooms. Some more evergreens, and if you've been around my channel for a while, you know I absolutely love these gold mop cypress or these lemon thread false cypress. It's got a really beautiful yellow coloring. Now of course it needs full sun to get this beautiful golden yellow color. If you have it in a bit more shade, you will get a more green shrub, such as what you see here underneath on the parts that don't get a lot of sun. And it has a very airy sort of foliage structure, just really pretty, and it offers such nice contrast against some green evergreens, as you can see here. So this one here is $12.84. It can be used as a ground cover because it does grow pretty wide, and it likes moist, well-drained soil. 6+ hours of sun, gets to be 3 to 5 feet tall and about 3 foot wide. 3 to 4 foot wide. You can prune them selectively to keep this nice arching habit, but to maintain their size if you need to. And I find this to be a really easy care, low maintenance, beautiful evergreen shrub. And then there's a couple of these Andorra junipers. These get a bit more bronze in the colder months, so in the late fall, winter, and early spring, and then they take on more of this blue-green hue. Also a great option as a foundational low-growing evergreen shrub. And let's see, this one here is called Andorra Compact Juniper. Whoop. And it needs full sun or 6+ hours of sun. Thoroughly allowed to dry before watering again. So junipers they're pretty drought tolerant once established, so they like to be on the drier side. They will not tolerate wet feet. And they are $12.84 for these shrubs. They get to be 15 to 18 inches tall, and they get 5 feet wide, which would make them a great ground cover because they grow wider than they do tall. Hardy to zone 3, so very hardy, negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And another one of my favorites is this guy here, the Blue Star Juniper. It has this beautiful blue-gray foliage. And just look at the contrast of this. The blue with the green and then the yellow. So if you have all 3 of these colors in your landscape, beautiful way to add some interest. So the Blue Star Juniper is also a ground cover type shrub. It grows wider than it does tall. I've had one planted. I actually have 3 or 4 in my garden, and I've had them for about 10 years now, and they're about 3 by 4. And only about, I would guess, about 1.5 foot tall. So pretty low, which makes them a great option for a front of the border type evergreen. They get to be, here the tag says they get to be 24 to 36 inches tall. Mine have not gotten that tall, but they have gotten 36 to 48 inches wide. And they are hardy to zone 4 or negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Great price point for these. If you're just starting a new landscape and you're on a budget, this would be a great option for you. And some heather. Now these are not super hardy in my zone 6. They're a Mediterranean plant. They like to err on the side of being a bit dry, and there are heathers and heaths. And I've been told that heathers have leaves and heaths have teeth, which I thought was really interesting comment that I had gotten on one of my videos. This one is called Erica. It says that they are hardy to zone 6 or negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, but I had a couple of friends lose some of these this winter, so they're not super hardy in our zone, but a really beautiful evergreen that tends to put on these blooms in late winter, very early spring. And these are also $12.84. Lots of tree options here at my Walmart, and let's take a look at a couple of them. So here is a Robinson flowering crabapple. I've been after a crabapple. They're so beautiful. This one looks like it's going to have a bit of a darker foliage and some pink blooms. This one actually looks like it just bloomed Really pretty. And this is $34.74. Needs 6+ hours of sun, so it's a full sun tree. Likes well draining soil, and it gets to be 20 to 25 feet tall, 20 to 25 feet in width, hardy to zone 4 or -30 degrees, and blooms early to late spring. These look to be about a 5 to 7 gallon container. My best guess is it's probably about a 5 gallon. And right beside the flowering crabapple, they have a Yoshino cherry, which I planted one of these last spring in my garden as well. So beautiful. They have these very light pink blooms that age to a white, and they almost look like snow or confetti when they start losing their flower blooms. Really pretty. So this one here is a full sun tree as well, likes moist, well-drained soil. $34.74. It looks to be about a 5 gallon for this Yoshino cherry. And it gets to be 25 to 40 feet tall and 25 foot wide, hardy to zone 5 or -20 degrees, and blooms early to late spring. Now they have a weeping willow, and I absolutely love these trees. They are so ethereal and just beautiful, but something to note about willows is that they love water. So if you have a well or a septic system like I do, you probably want to stay clear of planting a weeping willow for the simple fact that they do like to reach for water, so it could become problematic for you. But if you have a property where you're able to plant one of these, they're absolutely gorgeous, and they are $29.74. They get to be 40 foot tall and 40 foot wide, probably bigger. I've seen them get pretty large, and they just have such a beautiful weeping habit. Hardy to zone 6 or -10 degrees Fahrenheit. Lots of options for screening trees. If you want to create an evergreen hedge or live fencing, some Arbovitae. My recommendation would be the green giant Arbovitae. In fact, our neighbors planted some of these emerald green Arbovitaes from Walmart that they got on clearance at end of season, and they have done beautifully. They grow really, really fast. Now this variety, emerald green, is not as deer resistant, so you probably want to be careful if you have deer in your garden. They do tend to eat these and they will become misshapen, but this variety, the emerald green, is $34.74. And let's see, the green giant variety is $49.88. They have a bit of a looser foliage habit, but they are very quick growers, and they need full sun, and they do like moisture, especially when they're newly planted. You want to water these consistently to make sure they get well and established. They do not like to be too dry. They also have some shade trees like a pin oak for $34.74 and some river birches. River birches also love water, so if you have an area that stays a bit wet, they would be a good option to plant. And from what I understand, they do not have invasive root systems, but of course always do your research before you plant anything. And so here we also have some dogwoods, which are pretty ornamental. And this is a white dogwood for $29.74. Gets to be 20 to 35 feet tall, 25 foot wide, hardy to zone 5 or -20 degrees Fahrenheit, and blooms mid-spring to summer. Now dogwoods are really slow growers in my experience, so sometimes it's tough to start with these smaller trees. Planting them is much easier and the price point is great, but if they are slow growing and you're a bit impatient, they'll take a little while to get going. $29.74 for the Kusa dogwood. And these are also 5 gallon containers. And the Kusa is a little bit smaller at 20 to 22 feet tall and 10 to 15 feet in width, and hardy to zone 5 or -20 degrees Fahrenheit. They still have a couple of fruit trees here at my Walmart. They have some Macintosh apples for $34.74. And what other kind? Let's see. Yeah, I just see Macintosh. Macintosh here looks like it gets 12 to 16 feet tall, 10 to 14 foot wide, hardy to zone 4 or -30 degrees Fahrenheit. And in most cases with apple trees, you need at least 2 apple trees for pollination to occur and for you to get apples. I also found a little bit smaller version of the green giant Arbovitae. So my best guess is that this is probably a 3-foot tree for $34.74, and the other one was more in the 4 to 5 foot range for that $49.74 price point. $49.88 for the little one, for the one that's a little bit larger. Some more beautiful Asiatic lilies, and look at these pink ones. So pretty. Let's see if they tell us any information, like as far as the name goes. Nope, it just says Asiatic lily. It's $8.88, and it's got a gorgeous pink color. And some boxwood. So this one here is green velvet. They're a good size boxwood here. Probably a 2 gallon. and they're $16.88. So this is a great size shrub to start with, because boxwood can sometimes be slow growing, and also probably a good candidate for a topiary if you want to keep them in a nice round ball shape. This is the green velvet variety, and it needs good drainage. Gets to be 36 to 48 inches in height, 36 inches in width, hardy to zone 4 or negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Look at these gorgeous flowers. Now these I know are not hardy in our zone. They're the Peruvian lilies. 1968 for this hanging basket, but it would be a really beautiful hanging basket for the summer months. It's full sun or 6+ hours of sun, and it says that it gets to be 30 inches tall, 24 to 30 inches apart. So I guess you could take them out of this container and plant them out in the landscape for the summer. This is a 1.5 gallon container for 1968. And look at this begonia, so beautiful. So pretty. So let's see, this one here is the tuberous begonia. It is $17.97 for this hanging basket. They like part sun, 4 to 6 hours of sun. Really pretty. They also have pink begonias. And lots of woodland phlox. Now this, to me, is the most fragrant phlox, the woodland variety. This color here is called the Blue Moon Woodland Phlox. Now, when you hear woodland, you would automatically assume that these want to be in a shade area, but these do better in a part sun situation in my experience, because if they have too much shade, they don't bloom quite as well, and they also tend to split in the second and be a little in the center and be a little more floppy. But these here are part sun. They get to be 10 to 12 inches in height, and they need 12 to 15 inch spacing, hardy to zone 3 or negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And they are $8.88. They smell absolutely divine. And something that I call the perennial version of lobelia is Lithadora. So this here is listed as a perennial in my zone. It is full sun, needing 6+ hours of sun, which is also different than the lobelia, because lobelia thrives better in part shade. And so this one likes more sun. It has this really blue, vibrant, tiny bloom. The variety is called Grace Ward Blue. Gets 6 to 12 inches in height and 10 to 12 inches in width, hardy to zone 6 or negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and water weekly during dry spells. But check this out. Look how blue this bloom is. Gorgeous. And these are also $8.88. And some Better Homes and Gardens hydrangeas, and these are all put out here for Mother's Day. Now, something to note about these hydrangeas, they are absolutely gorgeous, but these are greenhouse grown hydrangeas. So when you bring them home and you put them in your garden, they're not going to perform quite as well as they look right now. So a lot of people will take these home and plant them after the holiday in hopes that their hydrangeas will look this way next year. They may or may not make it over the winter, depending on your zone. They also may not look the same color once you plant them in your garden, because these are a macrophylla type hydrangea, and the color will depend largely on the type of acidity in your soil. So if you have acidic soil, they will be more blue, and if you have more alkaline soil, they'll be more pink or purple. But they are pretty beautiful. And these hydrangeas here are $19.97. They've also started putting in some of the pieces or the components that you can use in your hanging baskets. This is a trailer here, and it is called, let's see, Vinca Vine. And these sometimes bloom with these little purple flowers. They make a really pretty addition in the front of your containers. They also have some ivy, which I will show you, but try to keep ivy in your containers because they are extremely invasive, and apparently they love to attract spider mites if you have, say, an ivy houseplant. So here is the ivy. While very pretty, it seems to be problematic for some people from what I see in my comments. And here is some rush that also makes a great filler in the center. It's like a grass-like foliage, and you can use this as a thriller in the center of your containers, and they are $2.97. This is an annual. Well, that brings us to the end of our tour for this Walmart spring inventory. I hope that you've enjoyed checking out these plants that they have in stock with me. As always, thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.